Waalaikumsalam, sir. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, everything okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, okay, sir. Maybe I would like to give our class introduction first before I will start our class to
Okay,
go to next topic.
okay.
Kan gini Pak,
Hmm?
pada dasarnya kan perencanaan
Hmm?
program ini
Hmm?
dibuat saat kondisi normal. Nah,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
kebetulan sekarang dalam kondisi pandemi dan beberapa daerah juga eh, ada indikasi lockdown. Jadi untuk misalkan mau latihan pun ke tempat latihan mungkin tidak bisa karena ditutup. Dan itu juga emang pengalaman di dekat rumah saya, di sekitar tempat saya. Nah, jadi anak-anak
Oh, yeah.
atlet ini suruh latihan di rumah gitu Pak. Nah, tapi programnya masih nggak jelas, jadi cuma kayak lari aja, skippingan. Nah, mungkin bisa dijelaskan untuk program latihan di rumah yang baik dan benar dan bagaimana perencanaannya gitu Pak saat latihan di
Okay,
rumah.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, Fahri have a question to you, especially about how you will you have to get us adjusting the implementation of exercises during this pandemic situation.
Dear students, Assalamu alaikum, and our coordinator, Dr. Faidullah, and other eminent faculty members, Assalamu alaikum to all of you, and greetings from Saudi Arabia. First of all, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all of us be safe and healthy, your family, your loved ones should be, yani be safe. Number one. In this pandemic situation, what you have to do is, I will tell you one thing. You have to check your wazan every week, your weight, body weight because throughout the world, throughout the globe, many students or many faculty members, they are calling me and said, my body composition changed. My wazan is increasing. And your Indonesia back, where is your Indonesian back? Here, your abdominal and core muscles becoming bigger. So this is the sign of diseases, many diseases. So what you have to do at home, you can do some planks, you can do some push-ups, you can do some sit-ups, you can do some burpees, you can do some standing, just you can step up and down at home. If you have a cycle, you can do cycling at home. If there is a chance, maybe near your house, like a garden or something outdoor, you can walk for at least 20 minutes. Morning, 20 minutes, evening, because walking is a very good exercise and will help you for the blood circulation. Because blood circulation is very, very important. Like American College of Sports Medicine, they suggest minimum 10,000 steps to a normal person. 10,000 steps. But if we don't do 10,000 steps, can we do 5,000? If it's 10,000, it is more in this pandemic situation. Can you do 5,000? If not 5,000, can you do 1,000 in the morning, 1,000 in the evening? So minimum effort is very important. And be positive mind, and don't take it stress and don't give stress. Don't take stress, don't give stress. These two things are very important. Sometimes when you give stress, many people die. You just send WhatsApp to other people. They get stress, and this stress increases, and cortisol is released in the human body. And this cortisol, what is happening? Many people die, heart attack, stress, depression. So what we have to do in the community, make good awareness, help them, give them guidelines, but don't send any bad messages like, oh, today 500 people die, 5,000 people die, 3 people will die today. this will create a negative in the society. It's like a stress on the many people. Maybe he has a heart problem, he will die. So you are not helping in the society, but you are making a stress on the society. So be careful. Yani, always, yani, whenever you send any message, it should be a good message. It should be pleasing message. You can say that be careful. This word like a be careful, be safe this way. But sending 1,000 die and after 3 weeks 2,000 people will die. This type of things in WhatsApp killing many people. Negativity in the society. So delete the message when you get this. Don't forward it. Number one. What I'm telling to you, very, very serious about this one. And not only you have to take care of your parents, of your mother and father and your family. Take them to walk, and especially to your mother, because always women at home. And that's why they are getting heart attack, they are getting diabetes, they are getting heart problems. You are the pillar of the community. Students are the pillar of the community. You should think how much important you are for the society. You are educated. Educated means change in your behavior. So dear students, you have to take care of these things of your mother and father and your whole family, because mother and father has given everything to you. As a student, you should love your parents. You can get every relationship, but you will never get relationship like your father and mother. You will never get a good teachers. You have to respect your teachers. Teachers are like your family. Teachers are like your father and mother. And why I'm talking about this is the total healthy behavior, not only exercise, but these are the things total you have to follow. Exercise, stress, societal behavior, these things are important in this during this pandemic. And morning, if the weather is good outside, you can go outside and walk. If not, at least 20 minutes, 30 minutes do exercise. Like you can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, you can do leg raises. I will show you some exercises I have today. I will show you the video. You can do these exercises at home. Shall I share this video to them, Dr. Fadullah?
Maybe after this, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah. I would like to resume first to answer Rafi questions.
Yeah, after my presentation, I will show them some exercises they can do at home, inshallah.
Okay. Ya, Mas Fahri, sorry Rafi lagi. Jadi Mas Fahri ada masukan dari beliau, narasumber. Ada beberapa hal yang bisa kita cermati sebagai pengganti yang sifatnya memang apapun di masa pandemi ini dengan banyak keterbatasan, aktivitas yang kita lakukan itu baik seputar fisik ataupun keterampilan itu sifatnya maintenance minimal. Jadi memang kita tidak bisa idealis layaknya kondisi yang normal, ya. Nah, maintenance-nya ini ada beberapa poin yang bisa kami rangkum. Ada 5 poin. Yang pertama kita harus menjaga keseimbangan antara intake dan outtake, ya, karena tadi larinya ke masalah komposisi tubuh. Nah, kenapa kok di masa ini kan kita banyak jadi kaum rebahan tuh, ya kan? Nah, kalau kita terlalu banyak rebahan, itu asupan tadi banyak menumpuk kalau nggak kita imbangi dengan workout, gitu maksudnya ya. Makanya hati-hati, keseimbangan ini juga harus dijaga agar komposisi tubuh kita tetap dalam kondisi yang aman. Ya, itu yang pertama yang paling mendasar. Yang kedua, lakukan bentuk-bentuk latihan yang bisa dilakukan yang dalam sifatnya mandiri, bersifat mandiri, ya. baik itu dengan beban internal maupun beban eksternal. Tadi beliau memberikan contoh, ada beberapa jenis latihan yang paling simpel, ada push up, sit up, pull up, back, ataupun core training ya. Core training itu kan bisa kita lakukan secara mandiri juga ya, ataupun plank dan lain sebagainya dan sejenisnya, atau dengan alat bantu yang kalian punya seperti apa, nah, itu dilakukan itu yang untuk fisik. Yang untuk skill itu ya lakukan aktivitas-aktivitas latihan teknik dasar yang bisa dilakukan secara mandiri. Nah, kalaupun harus berkelompok, masuk ke poin berikutnya, lakukan latihan-latihan yang sifatnya aman dengan pengetatan prokes. Ya, kita sudah punya 5M, bahkan sekarang naik jadi 6M ya. Standar protokoler kesehatan kita itu harus betul-betul ditaati. Namun sejatinya untuk amannya, yang untuk berkelompok itu sekalipun memang olahraga bergu ya mau tidak mau memang harus banyak dikurangi gitu. Jadi banyak aktivitas yang sifatnya mandiri gitu ya. Terus untuk tambahan selain beberapa aktivitas tadi, poin berikutnya kita tetap harus menjaga kondisi kardio kita. Jadi lakukan aktivitas latihan kardio. Nah, tadi sama dengan latihan fisik ataupun skill di atas, ya paling tidak per sesi itu 20-30 menit minimal total waktu latihan kita. Minimal, masuk latihan kardio juga. Karena memang COVID ini kan menyerangnya salah satunya ke paru. Ya, salah satu targetnya sebelum dia merambat ke yang lain-lain. Target utamanya kan memang paru. Jadi memang dianjurkan sekali untuk kita melakukan aktivitas kardio dengan tetap agar kardio kita tetap terjaga stabil ya. Terus yang berikutnya, nah, cari aktivitas-aktivitas entah itu dalam bentuk latihan maupun non latihan, baik itu yang formal maupun non formal, yang dapat menyenangkan sehingga kalian merasa happy. Nah, hal ini kenapa dibutuhkan? Hal ini dilakukan untuk mengeliminir atau kontrol pertumbuhan hormon jahat secara masif ya, atau kortisol istilahnya. Jadi berkebalikan, kalau kalian happy, kita senang, hormon positif yang banyak berproduksi atau endorfin ya. Itu makanya kenapa ciptakan sendiri itu suasana-suasana aktivitas yang menyenangkan tadi. Terus itu 5 poin yang mendasar yang menjadi masukan dari beliau. Jadi we have to go to next topic now.
Any more questions, or we will go for the presentation now?
Maybe enough for now, and we have to go to next topic.
Okay.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, dear gentlemen, dear students, today we are going to talk about the scope of training program planning along with factors that must be considered and influenced in drawing up an exercise program plan, which is very important. When we draw the exercise program, we have certain limitations, we have certain principles. Based on that principles, we have to make our exercise program. So let us see the summary line: sports training definition, training history, sports training introduction, principles of training. Then we have sports training definition. What is the definition of sports training? Sports training is a pedagogical process based on scientific principles, aiming at preparing sportsmen and women for higher performances in sports competitions, according to Hardayal Singh in the year 1993. Sports training is a plan and control process for achieving a goal. Changes in complex sports, motor, performance ability to act and behavior are made through measures of content, methods of organization, according to Martin. What is the history of training? Since the ancient times, emerging or training physical abilities has existed, though in a basic form at first. It was used for Olympic Games preparation or for the military purposes. So it started because of Olympic Games or military preparations and purposes. First systematic principle in training were probably used by the Greek athletes Milon, who implemented the principle of systematic planning as early as in the 6th century BC. He determined the training cycle by carrying a bull calf on his back each day until the animal reached maturity. That means with a small baby, he used to take on his back and he used to train until it grew up bigger. So you can see the training from how he started with low intensity to the high intensity. Modern scientific theories from the mid of 20th century formed the basic of training planning. Periodization, it was introduced to training practice in the 1950s and early 1960s, when coaches realized that focusing on an important competition was more effective than preparing athletes for year-round competitions program, as the athletes are not able to withstand the enormous training load to which were subjects. The roots and idea of periodization come from Hans Selye's model, known as the general adaptation syndrome, which was first used by the athletic community in the late 1950s. Selye identified source of biological stress and referred to them as eustress, which denotes beneficial muscular strength and growth, and as distress, which is stress that can lead to damage, disease, and necrosis of the tissue. And I'm showing the picture. You can see the Milo of Croton was a brilliant wrestler and won the most important athletic festivals of ancient Greece, the back 540 BC. And this gentleman, Milo, trained by carrying a newborn calf on his back every day until it was fully grown up. So this was his program. This ancient program was changed, and we have a modern programs, modern training programs. This is the introduction for sports training. In ancient times, it denotes the process of preparation of some task. The term training is widely used in sports coaching, and sports scientists. Professionals in sports medicine and sports biomechanics realize that sports training is basically doing physical exercise. So, dear students, give your concentration that what is sports training? It's based on basically on physical exercises. Moreover, there are several terms using in training, such as endurance training, strength training, interval training, technical training, and tactical training. So we have subdivisions in the training. What training you are doing today? You're going for endurance training, or you're going for strength training, or you're going for speed training, or you're for tactical training or skill training. So you have a different training methods in the form, in the one word, in the training, you have a different subtitles like as I had mentioned to you, like strength training, interval training, technical training, and others. At the present time, it is a process which can extend even months and years together for preparation of some task. Sports training aims directly or indirectly in improving the personality of a sports person, and it is an educational process. Sports training is a systematic process extending for a long period. For the best results, the system of training has to be based and led on the scientific facts. Dear students, the word I am talking about, systematic process, sensible approach. Systematic process. For example, today you are training for 45 minutes, next cycle 45, then 50, so on. But you will not do today 20, tomorrow 40, then today you are practicing, tomorrow you are absent. No, it is a systematic process. Today we will go for strength training. Tomorrow we will go for skill training. Then we will go for on season. Then we will go for competition training. Like that. We have a systematic. The modern training is based on very systematic process. Effects of exercise increase or decrease performance by a multiple factors such as sports equipment and implements. I will give you, if your sports attire, the t-shirt, the track, if it is not a quality one, and you work out for 1 hour, and you will lose lot of sweat. If you lost lot of sweat, what will happen? You will lose lot of vitamins and minerals in that, and you feel very exhausted. And this will take lot of time to recuperate, recovery, and for the next if you go for the next training, it will take time for the recovery. So dear students, it depends based, as I have mentioned to you, on many aspects, and one of the aspects is your training attire. Your training attire should be very good, and you should have a good shoes. When I was training to my athlete, he was training for 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters. He said, doctor, I am not comfortable. It is like somebody hitting me to my feet, like a boxing when I hit with my shoes. Then I told him, okay, show me your shoes. It was horrible. I cannot say. Then I immediately called one of the shop and said, please provide him one shoes tomorrow. Can you bring it in the morning, because he has evening, he has a training program. So likewise, it depends on many factors. Not so the coaches, the teachers, they have to see what the problem he has. He has to change his shoes, he has to change his clothes, he has to change his training, he has to change his food. He is not feeling well, maybe he has a fever, he has to take 2 days rest. So these things are very important when you are doing systematic process. Effect of exercise increase or decrease performance by multiple factors such as equipments, implements, verbal instructions. Instructions, when you are giving verbal instructions, sometimes students will listen something. I will say tomorrow, maybe he say day after tomorrow, or I'll say morning, he thinks evening. So verbal instructions is also very important. Better we can write on the board and ask the students take the picture of the board or send the message. Better for the students, because sometimes their mind is here and there. So verbal instructions, meaning of recovery, meaning of assessment, of performance capacity, nutrition. What is nutrition? Nutrition has 6 aspects. Number 1, carbohydrate, fats, vitamins, minerals, water, and fat. Combined together is a total balanced diet. So these are the nutrients, 6 nutrients, and you have to take from in a proper proportion. Therefore, it should not be continued to physical exercise only. So it not depends only on physical exercise. It has many factors. These are the principles of sports training, and I will show you today these principles. Based on these principles, we will make our program. Principles of formulating training on the basis of prognostic performance and its structure. Sports training aims in achieving high performance of athletes. Moreover, a structure of prognostic sports performance should form the base of formulation of training. The aim of training, 1 second please. The aim of the training objectives, means, methods, and measure for different stages of training are to be derived from the performance capacity essential to achieve the prognostic sports performance. Performance structure is a combination of other factors like motor development, age, training stage, periodization, and others will regulate the training structure. The second principle is training load principle is based on principles stimulus for starting psychological and physiological process of adaptation with eventually leading to increase in performance capacity. Higher performance will achieve when athletes adopt to a higher level of training. Training loads can be increased by 2 days. Linear method. The classic or linear periodization model is based on changing exercise volume and load across several predictable mesocycles. Step method, STEP, stands for space, task, equipment, and people. It is a simple way to making changes to activities. It's commonly used in the physical education and school sport setting so that everyone can join in and take part together. But the principles work in all settings, especially in the home also. Principles of continuity of training. Education about the importance of continuity by highlighting positive and negative effects of training. Because when we are giving some training, definitely it have negative and positive. For example, if they are doing football training, so the negativity is maybe if you give more training or if they don't have a sufficient recovery, it will affect on the lower back muscles, it will affect on the knees. The students will start complaining, teacher, I have a pain in my knees, I have pain in my ankle, I have pain in my back. So these things we have to keep in our mind, how much exercise we are giving and how much rest he need for the recovery. Performance factors develop through long process of training. Condition of optimum load because we created too much or less will not affect the performance. Principles of uniformity and differentiation. Principles of uniformity and differentiation should be formulated uniformly, but it should be allowed for individual differences. Uniformity training helps for spotting talent. When we do some pre-test, when we see in the our university, okay, send us who is interested in boxing. So maybe we get 100 application. From 100 application, we will take that, okay, who play for district, who play for state, who play for national, who play for international. Okay, how many they play international? 5 athletes play from 100. This is talent identification we do. 5 outstanding. Then we will call them. Okay, they are like 3 years before or presently they are champions. So we have to see that. And maybe, for example, we have 50 state champions and we need only 10 guys. What we will do, how we will select them? We will have a matches. Then we will take the top 20 or 10 athletes to train them for All India Indonesian Championship or Asian Championship or anything. So this is like a, we call talent identification. We take the best one to train. That is talent identification. Uniformity means training should be based on same system and the principle which has worked out to achieve prognostic sports performance stage-wise. The training should follow certain factors: age, biological and chronological, sex and gender, male and females. So females, in which sport they are better and they can do best. So we will take the girls, okay, you do this sport, you do this sport, you do this sport, so that they can be the best performers. Training state, number of years already participated. So this is training maturity. We have to see that how many years they had participated earlier. Principles of progressive specialization. This principle means use of specific method for improvement of performance, but in real training process we start from childhood and can continue up to the age of 25 to 30 years. Highly specialized training is not suitable for children, leads to premature burnout or dropout. High performance depends totally on sportsman physique and personality. It should be a mixture of general and specific means of method of training. Sport training is a systematic and pedagogical process. So every stage of training should be well planned and systematic. Training system means goals focused on. Ultimate aim of sports training. Interrelationship among performance structure, performance capacity, and training structures. Improvement of sports performance over a long period of time. Principles of motor development. Principles of regulation of sports training. A coach should know what kind of training affect the performance of the sportsman. If so, the training should be changed or modified to ensure proper and effective development of performance. So the coach should know how to change the training, when it should be change the training for the better performance. How you can take the better performance from our students. Training plan giving the aim, load, method, extra for different phase and training. Training documents are essential information of load means and method, competition period, and individual profile. They have to keep the training diary. Coaches has to keep the training diary and all the individual profile, so that from this profile you will know what training you have to give. Information about the level as well as rate and direction of training, so that the coach can judge the effect of training for improvement of performance. Principles of cyclicity of training. The process of sports training is formulated in shorter and longer cycle for different reasons. Different tasks to be tackled simultaneously, certain tasks to be tackled again and again. Participation in competition must be in the top form. There are 3 cycles: microcycle, mesocycle, and macrocycle. Already I talked to you in the last class. We had discussed about this. Exercise selection. Give your concentration here, boys. Very, very important what I am talking about. Personal characteristics and individual training goals define exercise selection. Although personal characteristics is a little general term, factors like age, skill level, injury history, individual anatomy, training history, position, height, game schedule must be considered when selecting the appropriate exercise for that person that day. Exercise selection must also be based on each athlete's training goal. For example, different exercises might be selected if the goal is maximum strength development. Then if the goal is power development, circuit training just doesn't allow for such customization, since everyone has to move quickly around the different stations. So for strength, we have strength development, maximum strength, we have a different goal. But for if you want to improve muscular endurance, circuit training is the best, and you will take the 10 machines and the athletes will move very quickly from one machine to the other machine. You will not give any rest between the sets. Quickly he will complete the 10 machines. That is called one circuit or one cycle, you can say. Factors that must be considered and influence in drawing up an exercise program plan. Give your concentration, very, 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 very important. When you want to give a program, first of all, you have to do pre-test for your student. Pre-test means, for example, I'm giving a weight training program for my students. What I will do the pre-test for him in the weight training. Then I will see which machines he is comfortable and which machine he is not comfortable. And then I will see what is his strength. He is a beginner or he is advanced. In the pre-test, I will find out what is his level. Level of the students is very, very important. Body type. He is a big guy, that is called endomorph, or he is lean, that is called ectomorph, or he is solid structure, mesomorphic. So athletic physique. So we have 3 body types according to Sheldon's classification. All these 3 body types, they need different exercise program. What works for one body type will never work for the other body type. So I will see what is his body type when I'm giving him weight training program. For example, which sport he is going to play. May he want to play football or basketball, and what is his purpose of exercise? I have to see this. If he is in soccer, I will give him more exercises for his lower body. Knee extensions, leg curls, leg press, we will give him more. And I will work more on his core muscles. Definitely, total development of the body is important, but we will more focus on his on the legs. For example, a basketball player, more we focus on his shoulders and arms. Definitely, we work on his legs also, like knees, hip joint, and ankle, and other things. But more we focus on his shoulders. Like boxers, always they have a total program, but they more focus on their arms and shoulders because for the punches. So it depends on the sport, short-term training or long-term training. How much time is left? He is going for short-term training, like a micro training or meso training or macro training. We have to see what type of training, then you will plan. He is doing in the morning or evening training. It depends on both the sides. Evening, you have your energy level little bit high. Always 3 p.m., 4 p.m. when you work out, your energy level will be little bit high because already you have taken 2 meals. Untrained or beginner or intermediate or advanced level. So he is untrained. Now you're giving the program to untrained person, or he is a beginner or intermediate level or advanced level. So the program will be according to his level. Maybe you are in degree first year or degree second year or degree third year, like that. So which level you are? Then training maturity. Yani you are a beginner or intermediate, but what is your training maturity? Where you are standing? You are doing maybe 50% or 60 or 100. I have to see your training maturity, where you stand. Injuries, if he has any injuries before or presently he has some injuries, or maybe I will ask him during the season, he got any injury in the beginning or in between or before the competition or during the competition, so that we can comes out with our training program, and we can give some exercises, rehabilitation program to come out from this injury. Like some we see in cricket, many guys, they have a hamstring injury. So in off season, they will go for deadlifts, they go for leg raises, they go for massage, they go for deep raise, they give to their this one for rehabilitation. And then when it comes to the tournaments, he will be fascinating. He will be 100%, he will be okay. and what level of participation you are going to do, what level you have done, and what level you are going to participate. You're going for state, you're going for nationals, which level, and how much yani seriousness we need in your program, and financial background. For example, I have to see when I give you a diet plan, I have to see your financial background. Sometimes when I used to give to the students, okay, take this foreign product, supplements. You say, no, teacher, I can't take this. Doctor, I can't take this. I will take only the Indian product. So I have to see his pocket, how much financial background or he can survive with this. I will offer him, okay, take the Nike shoes. He said, no, I can't take Nike. I will take the only this local made shoes or this one shoes. Supplements, I will take the local supplements, or I will not take the American. Or I will not take this diet, I will take this simple diet. I will take only the sports equipment. For example, the shooters, they need a very good gun, but he say, no, I can't buy 2 lakhs rupees, I will buy for 1 lakh rupees. So it depends on the financial background. We have to see the student's background and we will suggest accordingly. Interest and attitude towards training and sport. We have to see how much attitude he has towards the training and sport, how much interest he has, and how you can arouse his interest, how you can motivate him, how you can push him. And we have to see the attitude of his parents, and also that how much they are serious. So then we can make a very good program for him, and inshallah they will have the best performance, inshallah, when you go for this one. So thank you very much. God bless you all. I hope you have understand the things. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask with me.
Okay, so what about the video?
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can practice at home.
Yes, thank you very much for knowledge. Okay, I would like to give my student resume first.
Okay.
Oke, teman-teman, tadi yang terakhir itu bonus dari Narsum untuk pertanyaan Fakri tadi ya. Jadi secara umum, beberapa bentuk aktivitas yang bisa dilakukan secara mandiri, yang mungkin sesungguhnya masih banyak bentuk yang lain yang bisa kalian coba search secara mandiri lagi ya di internet sana ya, di bank Google dan lain sebagainya. Ya, nanti untuk menambah referensi. Kalau yang untuk terkait dengan skill, itu mungkin kalian bisa lakukan maintenance latihan beberapa teknik dalam cabur kalian, terkait cabur kalian masing-masing, baik secara individu ataupun mungkin mengingat situasi yang di Indonesia saat ini makin mencekam untuk perkembangan situasi pandemi COVID, itu paling pol berpasangan, ya, berdua, gitu. Entah itu olahraga individu ataupun olahraga kelompok. Ya. Terus yang lain-lain ya mungkin nanti menyesuaikan dengan program yang didapat oleh pelatih atau bahkan program-program yang kita berikan kepada atlet kita. Ya, sekali lagi ini karena situasi ya, jadi harus banyak yang hal-hal yang harus diadaptasikan dan hal-hal yang kita sesuaikan. Oke, kita masuk ke lanjutan materi hari ini. Ini ada beberapa poin yang sudah menyinggung di materi di pertemuan yang lalu, ada juga beberapa poin yang ini sudah pengembangan ke beberapa bentuk wawasan yang lain ya. Nah, jadi hari ini kita berangkat dari materi seputar perencanaan program latihan, di mana ada beberapa faktor yang itu bisa menjadi hal yang patut kita pertimbangkan, sangat penting untuk kita pertimbangkan dalam menyusun program latihan ya. Jadi temanya, topiknya hari ini itu. Terus tadi sudah disampaikan juga dari diawali dengan pengertian tentang apa itu latihan olahraga ya, definisi banyak sekali definisi, baik definisi yang sifatnya itu umum yang dahulu dari zaman dahulu sampai ke definisi terkait dengan perkembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi saat ini ya. Tadi ada yang disampaikan beliau dari Hardy Elsing tahun 93, ada dari Martin, banyak ya. Intinya sesungguhnya latihan itu adalah proses yang paling mendasar tentang beberapa prinsip yang itu sangat penting untuk pengembangan atlet agar dapat mencapai penampilan puncak atau high performance-nya. Agar atlet tersebut apabila dia mencapai high performance-nya, dia bisa mengikuti kompetisi itu dengan luar biasa, harapannya kan itu. Nah, walaupun ada beberapa pengertian yang lain, dia membuat lebih spesifik lagi tentang latihan pada olahraga itu, di mana latihan itu harus mencantumkan tujuan, latihan itu harus kompleks, berangkat dari hal yang paling sederhana menuju yang paling kompleks, paling dari yang mudah ke yang berat dan lain sebagainya ya. Dan ada beberapa hal yang harus kita pertimbangkan terkait kemampuan biomotor yang nanti dikenakan pada atlet, di mana itu dapat menjadi pertimbangan dalam menyusun program latihan dengan metode-metode yang sudah disesuaikan. Ya, adapun pengertian lain juga banyak ya. Intinya itu secara umum, bahkan pengetahuan tentang latihan olahraga ini sudah ada dari zaman kuno, nenek moyang zaman dulu ya, mulai dari abad ke-6 sebelum Masehi sampai bahkan abad ke-20 Masehi saat ini. Jadi perkembangan tentang kemaknaan latihan olahraga itu terus berkembang ya, sesuai dengan zamannya masing-masing, yang intinya ya memang itu disesuaikan dengan perkembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi yang ada saat itu ya. Nah, salah satu yang menginspirasi adalah di dalam sejarah dunia latihan olahraga itu kita bisa melihat contoh semulu ya, kelihatan itu gambaran dari wujud nyata progres dari yang namanya latihan olahraga. Jadi kita kan itu sering mengenal Milo itu dalam bentuk kemasan minuman atau suplemen ya, itu bukan susu tapi apa ya, minuman berenergi atau apa saya nggak tahu juga karena banyak coklatnya pada susu menurut pandangan saya. Jadi mungkin Friends itu diinspirasi dari Milo of Cotton ini, maka dia membuat brand itu, di mana Milo ini sendiri itu melakukan hal-hal yang sangat luar biasa di masa itu, di masa kurang lebih abad 6 sebelum Masehi itu dia yang sahabatnya, di mana sahabatnya itu adalah sapi. Dari sapi itu masih sampai dewasa dia angkat terus. Jadi seiring pertumbuhan dan perkembangannya Milo, dia juga mengadaptasi latihan olahraganya terhadap sapi itu, seiring perkembangan dan pertumbuhan juga dari sapi sampai dia beratnya berapa berat lah, yaitu ton atau tidak ya. Jadi otomatis kenapa si Milo itu mempunyai kualitas performance atau fisiknya, penampilan fisiknya yang luar biasa ya karena itu tadi. Nah itu merupakan latar belakang dari pemaknaan pencerahan latihan olahraga. Nah, terus kita masuk ke beberapa kajian tadi. Jadi memang dalam menyusun rencana program latihan itu haruslah betul-betul disesuaikan dalam penerapan pada saat proses dari persiapan hingga pemberian penugasan pada sesi-sesi latihan. Apa namanya? Itu yang secara prinsipal. Terus yang berikutnya ada beberapa hal yang perlu cermati ya, karena beberapa sudah masuk di pengantar yang materi yang lalu. Nah, pada saat menyusun latihan olahraga pada atlet kita dalam memberikan pembebanan, itu bisa kita pantau secara langsung maupun tidak langsung, namun perkembangan dari atlet per individunya itu harusnya dalam cakupan dalam proses kita sebagai pelatih, tidak boleh lepas. Itu makanya kenapa dalam penyusunan program latihan itu haruslah sistematik, tidak boleh kesalahan. Jadi program itu haruslah sangat masuk akal ya, dan membuat pertimbangan-pertimbangan di mana program itu ya pasti dapat tercapai ya. Jangan berlebihan gitu ya. Terus harusnya pada saat kita mengatakan rencana program latihan yang sudah kita susun itu bisa memberikan dampak perkembangan latihan kepada atlet kita ya, baik itu dalam cakupan pencermatan pada saat kita memberikan instruksi, pada saat kita memberikan waktu yang efektif untuk istirahat, pada saat kita memberikan perlakuan ataupun baik itu dalam bentuk latihan fisik, teknik, taktik, keterampilan cabang olahraga, pemberian pengertian tentang kecukupan gizi pada latihan, ataupun dari konsep-konsep kebutuhan latihan pada saat itu. Oke, ini banyak pengertian, kita langsung saja berangkat ke. Nah, ini yang cukup menarik dari prinsip-prinsip latihan yang disampaikan beliau tadi. Jadi prinsip-prinsip latihan itu kan banyak ya, seperti yang sudah kita lampaui di materi-materi sebelumnya di perkuliahan. Nah, beliau menyampaikan beberapa sudut pandang atau perspektif prinsip latihan yang bisa menjadi pencermatan kita di luar konsep prinsip latihan sudah ada gitu. Di antaranya adalah intinya prinsip latihan yang yaitu prinsip dalam kita mengemas formula latihan itu yang terstruktur dan terukur. Ini harus prinsip latihan yang terstruktur dan terukur, ini yang pertama yang beliau sampaikan. Jadi tadi pendekatan-pendekatan yang masuk akal, ya, tidak berlebihan. Di mana maksudnya terukur itu Betul ya, kalau misalkan kita melakukan tes, pre-test, proses tes, mungkin post-test, itu kualitas latihan itu bisa dimaknai, ya, atau bisa dimengerti, bisa masuk ke dalam norma ataupun patokan. Ya, misalkan apakah dia berada dalam kondisi yang masih buruk, apakah dia sudah naik ke kondisi yang cukup atau sedang, bahkan ke bagus ataupun luar biasa. Prinsip yang kedua itu harus keberlanjutan, ada keberlanjutan atau progresif ya. Jadi pembebanan latihan itu harus selalu berkelanjutan, tidak stuck. Jadi kalau misalkan atlet itu sudah bisa melampaui beban latihan pada saat itu, suatu saat dalam beberapa kali perlakuan ya dia harus dikasih beban yang lebih agar dia lebih dapat beradaptasi terhadap sesuatu yang lebih berat lagi. Bahkan besok sampai ke maksimalnya atlet kita itu mampu beradaptasi kepada beban berapa tingginya. Ya. Nah, apa namanya? Ada dua model yang beliau sampaikan terkait dengan prinsip pembebanan berlebih ini secara progresif ini. Yang pertama itu adalah metode yang linear, di mana metode linear ini adalah metode yang klasik menurut beliau ya, metode klasik, di mana pada saat pencantuman model pada periodisasi latihan yang paling mendasar itu kita harus memperhatikan betul volume dari pembebanan latihan itu terhadap penjabaran dari prediksi apa namanya pembebanan latihan pada tabel khususnya mesocycle. Ini kemarin beliau menekankan banyak terkait dengan tabel mesocycle ya. Terus yang kedua metode step. Nah ini saya mendapatkan ilmu baru ya dari metode step ini. Jadi memang step ini tadi kepanjangannya dari strength courses, ada parts, ada equipment, dan keto. Jadi memang metode step ini kita harus memperhatikan sekali ruang lingkup pada saat kita hendak memberikan latihan kepada atlet, terus penugasan seperti apa yang harus kita berikan, perlengkapan sarana seperti apa yang menunjang yang harus kita sediakan, bahkan keberadaan atlet itu sendiri yang harus kita sesuaikan. Ini prinsip kedua. Prinsip ketiga dari beliau itu adalah keberlanjutan dari latihan atau continuity, principle of continuity, di mana latihan itu harus terus menerus, tidak berhenti. Sekalipun dia harus belum mendapatkan beban yang berlebih. Ya. Terus kenapa kok harus terus menerus agar kita bisa menjaga kondisi sang atlet untuk mencapai performa, jangan sampai nanti pada titik dia berhenti latihan yang akan mengakibatkan atrofi dan lain sebagainya. Ya. Prinsip keempat itu adalah keberagaman dan perbedaan. Nah, ini juga cukup menarik ya, keberagaman dan perbedaan ini, di mana maknanya adalah keberagaman ini itu layaknya kita kalau hendak melakukan talent scouting atau pemanduan bakat. Nah, berarti kita harus menyesuaikan kebutuhan cabang olahraga terhadap standar yang dibutuhkan. Ya, itu keberagaman yang dimaksud. Terus perbedaannya, kita juga harus bisa melihat anak ini atau calon atlet kita ini sesungguhnya sesuai nggak sih bakatnya ini disalurkan di cabang olahraga yang kita bina terhadap dia. Ya kalau tidak ya jangan dipaksakan, kalau dia sesuai diteruskan, dilanjutkan. Terus kita harus melihat usia, baik itu usia secara biologis maupun usia di luar biologis atau kronologis ya, atau usia latihan. Jadi apakah dia ini betul-betul nol atau memang dia sudah pernah latihan terus berhenti terus melanjutkan latihan lagi. Jadi nanti atlet ini itu harus disesuaikan. Ini terkait juga dengan diferensiasinya. Jadi program latihan itu jangan dipukul rata maksudnya. Kita harus menyesuaikan juga dengan kondisi atlet kita. Jangan dipaksakan semua sama. Terus kita juga harus melihat bagaimana program itu kalau kita berlakukan terhadap atlet laki-laki perempuan. Jangan sampai nanti perlakuannya sama. Terlepas dari perspektif layaknya perempuan itu kan mempunyai masa khusus, dimana tiap bulan itu selalu datang tamu ya. Kalau laki-laki ada yang datang tamu, saya rasa itu patut dipertimbangkan, ya kan? Nah ini juga menjadi salah satu kelebihan dari itu semua. Dan kemampuan baik fisik, psikis, fisiologis dari teman-teman laki-laki itu berbeda dengan perempuan. Pastinya laki-laki jauh lebih kuat dan lain sebagainya. Ini maksudnya harus disesuaikan dengan gender atau jenis kelamin. Terus posisi atlet kita itu, apakah dia itu latihannya itu sudah ajak mengikuti latihan di cabang olahraga tertentu atau baru ikut saja, atau memang atlet kita yang mau kita latih itu sudah sering mengikuti pertandingan atau baru sebagai apa ya namanya itu penggembira dan lain sebagainya lah ya, belum ikut aktif sampai ke level pertandingan. Ini juga harus disesuaikan juga ya. Terus prinsip yang berikutnya yang beliau aturkan tadi adalah progresif atau berkelanjutan, sama seperti tadi, di mana prinsip ini bermaksud adalah beberapa metode itu harus secara khusus disesuaikan dengan periodisasi latihan yang sesuai agar dapat tercapai high performance sesuai dengan harapan target atau goal tadi. Terus sisi yang lain, nah ada beberapa hal juga yang cukup penting yang tadi disampaikan oleh beliau ya. Jadi pada saat kita menyusun program latihan, maaf masih ada prinsip ketujuh, sorry lepas prinsip ketujuh ya, ada prinsip ketujuh, di mana prinsip ketujuh ini prinsip dalam menyusun regulasi atau peraturan pelatihan olahraga ya. Nah di sini maksudnya adalah pelatih itu harus tahu peraturan pertandingan atau kehususan keunikan dari cabang olahraga yang ditekuninya, agar atlet kita itu bisa menyesuaikan. Jangan sampai nanti maksudnya itu atlet kita kayak dibodohi gitu ya kan, atlet kita nggak tahu aturan, atlet kita nggak tahu strategi, kelebihan, kekurangan, kehususan, keunikan dari cabur kita, sehingga kalau ngelatih ya salah dan lain sebagainya. Waktu tanding juga kalau nggak ada peraturan ya juga asal-asalan atau semau-maunya, itu juga jangan sampai ke arah itu ya. Jadi memang latihan nanti harapannya akhirnya program latihan itu betul-betul disesuaikan dengan kebutuhan cabur, baik itu terkait persiapan itu secara luas ataupun pada saat taktikal, pada saat kita memberikan pelatihan sesuai dengan menetapkan strategi, itu sudah disesuaikan. Jangan sampai kita buta, intinya itu. Terus apa namanya, ini yang ke-8 itu ada principle of cycle city of training. Jadi maksudnya di sini adalah perputaran proses dari latihan olahraga tersebut dalam memformulasi pada target baik jangka pendek maupun jangka panjang ya, di mana pada saat kita membuat target latihan pada jangka pendek ataupun jangka panjang ini perputarannya itu ya pasti berbeda, baik dalam perspektif pemberian tugas ya kan, itu pastinya berbeda. Jadi gambarannya layaknya di topik pertama kemarin, di kelas kita yang pertama kemarin, kalaupun kita misalkan harus menyusun strategi dalam 1 tahun nih, misalkan 1 makro, itu ada beberapa pertandingan, kita harus fokus di pertandingan yang mana. Nah terus kalaupun kita harus mengikuti pertandingan di luar agenda tetap tadi, kita harus mengikuti pertandingan yang mana saja juga. Jadi tidak semua ya, karena apa? Ya kita harus menyusun strategi pada saat penyusunan mesocycle di program latihan kita. Jangan sampai nanti keluar dari situ. Nanti khawatirnya pengaruh atau dampak latihannya itu nggak optimal, maksudnya ya. Terus ada beberapa poin yang sangat patut kita jadikan pertimbangan dan sangat penting dalam menyusun program latihan. Banyak sekali tadi poin-poin yang di terakhir tadi. Jadi untuk kita mengetahui apakah nanti program kita itu bisa tepat guna, tepat sasaran atau tidak, ya kita harus melakukan pretest. Ya tadi biar kita dapat data kemampuan atlet-atlet kita. Yang kedua, kita harus mengetahui level dari atlet-atlet kita. Apakah dia itu atlet pemula, atlet menengah, atau mungkin atlet level atas ya kan. Kita juga harus tahu keberbutuhan pada cabur kita, khususnya terkait dengan komposisi tubuh, apakah dia endomorf, mesomorf, ektomorf. Nah cabur kita itu membutuhkan komposisi tubuh yang seperti apa, kita harus mempunyai referensi itu ya. Terus kalau kita misalkan sudah mendapatkan data dari poin sebelumnya tadi, kalaupun misalkan si atlet itu hendak bergabung kepada cabur kita, ya kita harus bisa menyesuaikan kepada beliau atau menawarkan, ya. Sesungguhnya kalau dia sesuai ya tampung, latih, kalaupun belum sesuai beri pengertian-pengertian, penjelasan-penjelasan secara akademis. Ya misalkan salah satunya tadi, kalau misalkan dari data terdahulu tadi kita sudah mendapatkan gambaran, oh kamu sesungguhnya kurang sesuai. Apakah masih lanjut atau tidak? Kalau masih mau lanjut, ya berarti kita harus kerja keras nih. Ya kan kita harus kerjanya berapa kali lipat agar atlet bisa mengikuti latihan-latihan dan tidak merugikan dia sendiri ya untuk mencapai target-target. Karena kalau dari sudut pandang komposisi tubuh saja sudah berbeda, itu biasanya kita harus kerjanya sekian kali lipat sendiri. Karena secara kinesiologi dan biomekanika nanti akan ada beberapa faktor yang kesulitan untuk digapai. Ya. Terus kita nanti dalam menyusun program latihan itu apakah untuk jangka pendek atau jangka menengah disesuaikan. Ya, jangka pendek, jangka menengah itu misalkan program 1 tahun kah, 2 tahun, 3 tahun atau bahkan 4 tahun. Terus melihat waktu efektif latihan, apakah di pagi atau sore hari. Nah, jadi bukan berarti aku nggak bisa nih latihan hari ini pagi, nanti tak ganti sore aja deh gitu kan misalkan. Tapi itu efektif atau tidak? Nah, kalian juga harus mempunyai referensi, cari referensi ya. Jangan sampai nanti misalkan pagi nggak bisa latihan terus pindah sore, padahal di sore itu kalian sudah mengalami kelelahan sehingga latihannya nggak maksimal. Itu maksudnya tadi kenapa harus menjadi pencermatan dalam perspektif waktu latihan. Terus gambaran tentang kematangan latihan dari sang anak tadi sudah ya. Dan apakah anak tersebut mempunyai sejarah terkait dengan cedera baik sebelum atau khususnya sebelum aktivitas dikala dia hendak bergabung serius di cabang olahraga yang kita tekuni tadi. Kalau ada sejarahnya ya kita harus tahu sehingga kita bisa mempunyai beberapa catatan untuk mengeliminir agar itu tidak berdampak lebih buruk lagi atau bahkan dihindari beberapa konsep latihan untuk tidak memancing cedera itu kembali muncul bahkan membuat bisa lebih parah. Terus ini juga cukup unik dan menarik walaupun poin ini agak ekstrim. Namun kalau saya sudah mengeterapkan poin ini. Jadi bagaimana kita melihat latar belakang kemampuan finansial si atlet. Ya, bukan semata-mata karena kita pengen memilih atlet yang kaya saja, yang miskin dibuang. Enggak, bukan itu. Karena logis yang disampaikan tadi khususnya maksud beliau terkait dengan cabang olahraga itu yang membutuhkan budget cukup besar. Nah, apalagi ini permasalahan dilematis di negara kita ya kalau berbicara budget. Jadi jangan sampai nanti organisasi olahraga itu sangat terbebani gitu loh. Bukan berarti nggak mau nampung. Nah, sehingga untuk optimalisasi yang nggak ada salahnya, ini menjadi salah satu pertimbangan. Nggak ada salahnya. Entah itu untuk atlet itu bisa secara mandiri membeli suplemen, seragam, perlengkapan olahraga sesuai dengan cabur, bahkan mengikuti pertandingan-pertandingan dengan biaya sendiri atau mandiri. Ini kan juga menjadi pertimbangan. Nah, poin-poin ini mungkin kemarin saya kelewatan, belum saya sampaikan. Tapi ini juga masuk akal. Saya sudah melakukan hal ini juga yang disampaikan oleh narasumber. Terus, poin yang terakhir ini juga masukan yang sangat luar biasa. Ya. Jadi kita harus melihat si atlet kita ini apakah beliau itu sungguh-sungguh tertarik terhadap cabang olahraga kita ini atau hanya ngikuti kemauan orang tua. Nah, ini banyak seperti itu permasalahannya nih. Ikut voli yang suka orang tuanya, anaknya disuruh ikutan latihan, padahal anaknya nggak suka. Itu banyak terjadi tuh, ya kan? Kalau dia nggak terlalu interest ya sudah jangan dipaksakan. Tapi kalau dia interest ya akan jauh luar biasa. Atau bahkan bagaimana caranya kita bisa memupuk atlet yang kurang interest tadi, kurang tertarik tadi, dia bisa menjadi interest terhadap cabang olahraga yang hendak dia tekuni. Ini sangat luar biasa, ya. Dan satu hal yang cukup penting adalah bagaimana kita bisa memantau calon atlet atau bahkan calon atlet kita ini mempunyai attitude yang baik terhadap cabornya. Banyak teman-teman itu terkadang lupa terhadap poin attitude ini. Entah itu dia atlet biasa, atlet profesional, ataupun atlet yang lainnya. Kadang kayak gitu, sudah merasa menjadi juara, meremehkan yang baru latihan dan lain sebagainya. Akhirnya banyak berpandangan underestimate terhadap pihak lain, bahkan sampai ke pelatihnya pun dianggap underestimate oleh sang atlet yang sudah jumawa dengan level yang sudah diraihnya tadi. Ini juga harus dikendalikan. Ini poin-poin yang cukup menarik, berapa poin yang disampaikan oleh narasumber tadi. Mungkin itu bisa kami rangkum, teman-teman sekalian. Monggo kalau ada yang mau dikonfirmasi kepada beliau, ada yang mau bertanya, mau berdiskusi, silakan. Sekarang waktunya untuk kalian.
Mau bertanya, Pak.
Oke, silakan Hasan.
So, good afternoon, doctor. So, I have a question about my training and diet. In this context, my diet is not deficit calorie, but changing the fried food becomes steam food. So, I'm still gaining the calorie. And I'm a basketball athlete, but this pandemic is stopping my basketball training and championship. So, I took a 3 athlete sport in this pandemic, like running, cycling, and swimming. And beside of it, I'm doing some exercise that you gave in the video, like push up, sit up, and then external lifting, like dumbbell, something like that. But when I play basketball and then I get contact with somebody, I just can't push him or hold the contact. I just feel weak when I get contact in the basketball. Also, my running and then my vertical jump is increasing, but when I get contact with my friend when I play basketball, like I feel I'm so weak. So what is the main factor that affect my strength when I get contact with my friend? Thank you.
Okay, Sir Hasan, have a question to you. Sorry, sir, mic still mute.
You're doing what you're doing now presently is doing for muscular endurance and as well as for cardiovascular endurance. That is fantastic, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the contact game, so it is about your power, how much you are like a power. If there is a pole, if the wind is coming and if the tree is weak, the tree will fall down. But if you see there is a pillar from 100 years and still he will stand still, maybe 100 winds come and hit. Why? Because it has a strong base. Strong base. The pillar has strong base. So I have to see your base, how you're standing when you are, facing your opponents. If you have a small base, definitely you will shackle. If you have a strong base, you will not feel yani. So keep your feet little bit wider when you are opposing to your opponents. You have to keep your base very strong. If you keep your base small, narrow, then somebody can push you up. But if you keep your feet slightly open and slightly your knees bent, then it's difficult for you to push back.
Okay.
But for this one, you have to train for like a judo for sometimes, because if you resist too much, sometimes you will get a back pain. That you have to keep in your mind. So better yani to move unless you are very strong in your core areas. If you are not strong, don't resist. Fly like a butterfly. Don't try to resist with your friends. Because we are not doing wrestling here. We are not doing judo here. Yeah. We are playing basketball, and basketball should be like a butterfly. Fly like a butterfly. Don't come in contact. Keep in your mind. Sometimes it will have a serious lower back injuries.
Okay.
So unless you get a very strong lower back muscles with deadlift exercises, with good morning exercises, when you do leg press, when you do bench press, it takes at least 12 weeks. 12 weeks to maybe 22 weeks or 24 weeks.
Okay.
Then you feel alternate day, you can go for weekly 3 times. Weekly 3 times bench press, at least 5 to 6 sets. with moderate of exercises. And you can do one set bench press, you can go for pec deck, you can go for chest press. Then you will see after somebody hit you, but your outer muscles are strong and cannot feel inside your organs, because sometimes somebody faints, somebody get problems because they hit and they fell down. So first of all, you have to make overall development of your body. You have to go for leg press, 4, 5 sets, 6 sets. And you have to go for hack squats, you have to go for deadlifts, you have to go for leg extension, you have to go for leg curls. Then you will total body, your muscles are strong to get anybody hit you. You are like a Maradona. Maybe somebody hit you, he will get up and you will run.
Okay.
You see the high athletes, somebody hit him, pull him, he fell down, only 1 minute to get him a yellow card or red card, then he will get up and he will run. Because he is strong.
Yeah.
100 times they fell down, like football players, if you see international, 100 times he will fell down here, 100 times he will woke up, again he will run. But a normal man, if he is not agile, he don't have strength, don't have power, don't have flexibility, once he fell down, he has to go to X-ray. He has to go to, somebody fell down in the house or in bathroom, he will go to the X-ray machine. Okay, please find out where I have problem. But these guys fell down 100 times. They will not get, mostly they will not get injuries. Why? They have a high fitness level.
Yeah.
So you have to train yourself. First of all, prepare yourself, and then you will go for tournaments. So do lot of bench press, do lot of leg press, do lot of sit-ups, leg raises, and like a 10 times 25-meter running sprint, fast sprints. You will develop like a wave, like a wind. You will become like a wind, strong. Then somebody hit you, you will never care. Your body start resisting. You will never care. Sometimes we are in, for example, for me or for my friends, sometimes we are in hurry, we went. I don't feel, I hit to my hand and there is a swelling.
Okay.
When I come back in the evening and making a wudu, I feel that there is something here.
Okay.
This was happened in the morning because now my body like a war zone. Anybody can hit, but I don't care. So when you do exercise, yes, I'm telling you, anybody hit me, no problem. Now, because I make my body like this, I do lot of exercise, lot of push-ups, sit-ups, still I do, I'm 14 hours busy every day. But 1 hour, I go for a treadmill, now outside, now climate, because you see I'm drinking lot of water, 48 now, outside, 48 here.
Wow. Very hot.
Very hot, 48. When that's why I can't walk outside, very humid in the night, 10:30. My wife went outside, say, oh, it's horrible. I said, go for walking. She said, I will die, can't. So in the gym, I'm going to my gym. And, I'm practicing there for treadmill or cycling or weight training. I do 1 hour, I come back. For fitness now, only for my health now, not for performance. So for yourself, you're a young guy, you can go for 4 days or 5 days for running and jogging, and you can go for bench press, leg press, do all total exercise for each muscle, deltoid. I will give you a program. I will send to Dr. Faidullah, he will give it to you.
Okay.
I'll give you a program, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Maaf saya, latihan itu ada endurance-nya, ada strength-nya, ada power-nya, tapi kenapa pas lagi main basket tuh kok ditabrak malah mental, malah nggak kuat. Ya pertama emang dari latihannya tuh udah berbeda endurance sama strength-nya. Terus tekniknya juga mungkin pas lagi saya main tuh nggak ngelebarin kaki dan tidak menguatkan kaki. Dan itu juga kembali lagi ke training yang berbeda untuk latihan ya triatlet tadi lah, yang lari, sepedaan, renang. Dan yang terakhir itu untuk anak basket ya pasti banget itu bener katanya untuk deltoid, bicep, tricep, dada itu paling penting banget buat basket karena itu kalau kita terkena kontak itu ibaratkan ya tadi itu tuh udah kebal gitu loh, nggak kerasa dan nggak mental. Meskipun mental dan terjatuh itu juga kita backupnya lebih cepat. Itu jadi Pak untuk simpelnya dari penjelasan tadi.
Ya, saya pertegas lagi ya, selain intinya cabur-cabur yang open skill, kalau boleh saya resume maknanya ya, itu kita harus mengawali dengan penguatan total body dulu. Ya, dari badan keseluruhan, komponen-komponen otot biomotor kita itu dibuat strength dulu di fondasi awalnya untuk cabur-cabur open skill. Ya, jadi total bodinya ini harus dikuatkan dulu. Ya, dari ekstremitas superior, ekstremitas inferior, bagian core, kan? Ini juga sebagai landasan untuk mengawali ke tahap berikutnya. Catatan tadi ya, cabur-cabur yang open skill, kayak basket, itu kan open skill. Jadi total body, hampir semua keseluruhan body itu dibutuhkan. Dan hampir sekian banyak komponen biomotor itu dibutuhkan. Nah, itu harus disesuaikan dulu, kata dia.
Berkaitan dengan perkuliahan kita itu kan perencanaan program latihan.
Oke.
Itu kan ada kan yang di sesi latihan itu kan ada yang 3:1, 2:1 ataupun 4:1. Nah, sedangkan yang saya lakukan saat ini itu kan latihannya kan setiap hari, itu kan pagi sore terus di hari Senin sampai hari Sabtu, kecuali hari Minggu itu benar-benar rest, benar-benar istirahat. Nah, sebenarnya kalau untuk atlet yang sudah profesional, yang sudah pro, itu lebih bagus mana Pak latihannya? Apa lebih bagus yang di 3:1, 4:1 itu, atau di setiap harinya terus menerus Pak di pagi sore itu?
Oh ya.
Terima kasih Pak.
So, Dava Zain have a question to you, especially with the professional athlete. When we have make an training plan, we get the theory before, where we have to choose one of the concept, like the 3 times for activity and 1 time for rest, or 2 times for activity and 1 time for rest, or 4 times for activity or 1 time to rest and another. He asking for 1 point about the when the best thing about the program for the professional athlete, with the one of thing like 3 times activity or 4 times activity with 1 time rest and another. And the second point, if we have do the training, if we do morning exercise and then evening an exercise too, that is good or not? Maybe just 2 points for a while. Thank you, sir.
Good question. Very scientific questions you asked. Very good questions. I really appreciate. One thing, for example, it depends on person to person that we give the training, and it depends on what season you are training. If it is off season, for example, off season we give more rest and like one training, 1 day off, one training, 1 day off. Like that, we will give for the students in off season, because rest is also very important, recovery, because they are not going for competition. So off season usually we give more rest. But when it comes to the on season, we will give, for example, 2 days training, 3 days training, and it depends on the students' recovery. Sometimes the students, if they say, no, sir, I am not recovered, I have a muscle soreness, I have this one, I have back pain, then definitely he will reduce the stress on the students to see that it is more comfortable. The training the training dosage we give to our students is very comfortable. But if some students are very strong, and for example 19 years boys, they have a recovery very fast, and what is the intensity we are giving, we have to see that if we are giving high intensity of training, we have to give next day moderate training program. Then we will go give low intensity training. We will not keep all the students at high intensity. Always we start with low intensity and the graph will go up. Like I have Millen Colton of this one, he started with a newborn calf and ends with a big one. So we started with low intensity, and when you reach to your tournament, the graph will go to the highest intensity. You will be in the peaking at the right time. You will peak at the right time. This is very important. And it depends what training, as I mentioned to you, on season also, sometimes if he have a fatigue, he has any injury, we give him more rest. Otherwise, if he's okay, he's because he is having a high fitness level at the peaking time, we don't give him more rest. But before the competition, yes, before 1 day, we give him complete rest to the athlete. Only he will go for warming up for 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. He will not be exposed to any hard training, hardcore exercises before the competition. On season, yes, on season we will see that how beneficial and how he's responding to the dosage. It depends on between the relationship between coach and an athlete and how much you are fit. It depends on, for example, 4 students, they train for 4 days, but 2 students, they can't train for 4, we will give him only 3 days. So it depends. And also age, like if you see in the football matches, there are senior guys, very senior. The first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they will play and they will be rested. Then in the last, in the crucial time, they will play again. Why? We need the senior players for experience, for domination. But the young players will play more than the senior players in the tournaments. Dr. Faidullah will agree with this point. When we have a football match, we have like senior players. They don't play all the stipulated time. Only they play for some time and they will be out. The other guys will play. So this way, it depends on student to student, how much the maturity they have, what is the fitness level, what is his age. It depends on this one. The last question you asked about Dr. Faidullah, the last question was?
If we do the training program with morning session and the evening session for 1 day, that is good or not?
No, this is not good, because you will have a different program. For example, you're costing yourself. This is not recommended. For example, same training you are doing morning and evening, this is not recommended. Especially morning will be only for fitness level. You will go for muscular endurance or muscular. Evening, you will go for your skill performance. Evening, mostly for the fitness. But it depends on your coaches, depends on the students. Sometimes the weather is not good outside. So in the evening or maybe rainy, you will go for fitness inside. But morning you will go for the skill training. So it depends on your environment, depend upon the situation. But mostly what they will do, the fitness they will do in the morning, and the skill performance always in the evening. Like we go for sprinters, they will practice in the evening, but morning they will go for weight training, circuit training, core muscles exercises, and they will do this all this in the morning gym. But 2 times training is not advisable because the recovery depends on your recovery. Maybe they will get injuries or any problems too. So this is not recommended because recovery is also rest is important. 2 sessions are not recommended.
Oke, ya gitu ya Dava ya. Jadi yang pertama tadi kalau pembebanan latihan itu misalkan 3 banding 1, 2 banding 1 atau 4 banding 1, ya kembali lagi. Ya, kalau ditanya mana yang lebih bagus, lebih baik, ya kembali lagi dari beberapa aspek yang harus kita tinjau dulu. Ya, dia atlet pemula, apakah atlet amatir, apakah atlet profesional. Jadi kebutuhannya pasti berbeda. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, periodisasinya di mana posisinya. Nah, ya itu juga harus disesuaikan. Nah, kalaupun misalkan memang di periodisasi tertentu, itu latihannya bahkan harus 5 banding 1, ya kenapa tidak? Ya, jadi disesuaikan dengan periodisasi juga. Sisi yang lain juga, ini pencermatan. Apabila misalkan kita melakukan latihan, misalkan di 1 sesi itu latihannya berat, ya upayakan setelah itu jangan dipaksakan berat lagi. Kecuali kalau dia memang atlet yang sudah top atlet ya, bukan yang pemula. Nah, kalau dia top atlet, ya mungkin fleksibel dilihat kalau dia berat plus berat, terus setelah itu tetap wajib harus recovery. Entah itu sifatnya itu betul-betul full recovery atau masih recovery aktif. Itu disesuaikan dengan kondisi atletnya dan periodisasinya sekali lagi. Jadi pencermatannya ini ada periodisasinya, ada kematangan atletnya, ada penempatan dosis latihannya yang harus diperhatikan tentang bagaimana kita mengagendakan latihan itu dengan perspektif 2 banding 1 ke 3 banding 1 ke 4 banding 1 ke 5 banding 1 ke bahkan mungkin 6 banding 1 ke gitu ya. Jadi ada beberapa poin itu yang paling mendasar yang harus kita cermati. Nah, terus yang berikutnya, kalau latihan kita pagi sore itu bagus nggak sih? Recommended nggak sih? Nah, kalau beliau memandang, ya tadi fleksibel kembali melihat atletnya. Namun khususnya kalau bagi atlet pemula yang kematangan atletnya atau usia latihannya masih minim, wah itu sangat tidak recommended. Karena terlalu berat nantinya. Karena mereka butuh waktu untuk rest, istirahat. Ya. Tapi kalau memang dia sudah top atlet yang sudah terbiasa dengan beban latihan yang cukup berat, pagi sore is oke aja, tapi jangan dalam pengenaan beban atau bentuk sasaran latihan yang sama, dibuat berbeda. Jadi misalkan kalau pagi tadi beliau menyampaikan untuk latihan cabor, keterampilan, ya sorenya mungkin fisik, tapi dosisnya disesuaikan. Jangan sampai kalau pagi berat, sorenya juga berat, disesuaikan. Ya begitu terus diputar balik. Itu ya pencermatan dosis, pencermatan periodisasi, pencermatan kematangan atlet, terus pencermatan dari, nah ini jangan sampai kita terlena. Tadi penguatan dari beliau, pencermatan waktu istirahat, recovery ataupun rest, ya recovery di saat latihan, rest secara keseluruhan. Ini jangan sampai kita tidak optimalkan, karena kita tidak akan mengalami peningkatan, tidak akan terjadi superkompensasi kalau recovery atau rest kita ini kurang. Ya, tadi yang dia sampaikan, adanya malah menjadi penurunan kalau kita salah dalam menerapkan recovery dan rest ini. Ya, nah, jangan sampai udah latihan capek malah terjadi penurunan atau atrofi tadi. Harapannya kan tetap terjadi hiperkompensasi. Itu Dava, apakah sudah cukup dipandang jelas atau masih ada yang mengganjal?
Sudah cukup jelas, Pak. Terima kasih, Pak.
Ya, sama-sama. Oke, yang lain bagaimana? Apakah masih ada? Yang lain boleh mencoba seperti Hasan tadi juga boleh kok. Nggak ada masalah. Ayo, yang lain. Nggak ada lagi? Kalau nggak ada lagi, saya ajak tutup narasumbernya untuk topik hari ini. Nggak ada lagi? Oke. Okay, sir, maybe enough for today. Thank you very much for your knowledge, sharing your experience. Hopefully, my students get much knowledge from you, and then Allah can give you more benefit from your sharing experience and knowledge.
Amin.
Yeah.
Amin.
Okay, thank you very much. Distinguished for you, and then your family. Still keep your health safe and happiness always. Okay, maybe we are closing our class for
Okay.
sir.